All right. Welcome, chat room. Welcome to another episode of Blazor State Has Changed. I'm Ed Charbonneau, and we have some new subscribers. Coefficient, thanks for the 12 months subscription, an entire year. Wow, that is amazing. Thank you very much. It's been a year already. Holy cow. We've been doing Blazor that long. It's amazing. Love it. Thanks for the sub. I really appreciate that. Nice to have you back. West coast of Europe. So it's very early in the morning then over there. Um, Actually, it wouldn't be morning. Oh, West Coast. Wait, that's very far west then. All right. Anyhow, thank you for joining us. I'm going to talk about some localization stuff I've been working on. I've got a demo app I've been building for a while now called the Blazing Coffee app. I was working on some localization stuff a few weeks, 2 weeks ago, and I've gotten pretty far with it now. Um, there were some hiccups on the last show where I was trying to figure out the best way to approach this because I was ending up with like a lot of localization injection in all of my components. So if I look at, say, my index page, what I was ending up with here was I had an inject for, say, all of my global localization values, and then I had my Telerik uh, localization, and then I had my index page localization, and I thought 3 inject statements per page was getting on the side of instability. It started feeling like a big code smell. So I finally found a way that I think is a more suitable approach, and bringing those all into one inject statement like this. So the Telerik string localizer is pretty much the same exact thing as the string localization, I think is what it's called. We'll go do a quick search for that. It's called the actually here. If we look in the service I have, I'm going to go into shared. So this is actually something I'll cover here in a minute. Localization, Telerik localizer. This is a custom class, and the Telerik string localizer is almost identical to the string localizer. This is just an interface that we use in our Telerik UI products. So when you put a data grid or any of our components on your application, they automatically localize through that Telerik string localizer. So the actual implementation of it is always going to be a little bit custom. So you have to provide the concrete implementation. And you basically have to satisfy what is the iString localizer here, which essentially gives you these two methods. So we're going to take and accept a string key, and then we're get the resource by that name. And then that just maps to the other functions, overload for another function that is just the more verbose get string from resource. And again, this is pretty much identical to iString localizer. If I right click on this, you'll see it has pretty much the same methods on it. Let's see. I did that wrong. If we were to try to implement that though, there's basically 2 methods that you have to implement the iString localizer, and they look identical to these. Hey, Eagle, welcome back. It's been a little while, I think, since we've had a chat, my friend. How's B unit coming? Hopefully well. So what I've done to make this a little bit simpler is my Telerik localizer takes an iString localizer as a dependency, and this has all my global localization values in it. So now anytime I inject a Telerik localizer, I'm also going to get all the global values for my applications um, localizer as well. And then I can individually add um, a per page or per component localization if I wanted to. I'm still thinking that's a little bit messy. So I'm going to keep it down to these two files. So if you look underneath of my resources folder, I've got a global resource file and a Telerik messages resource file. Telerik messages comes from the commercial component library, and this has all of the globalization values needed for all of the components in the library. The global is my own custom library of translations for all the things in my app. And again, you can do these per component and per page, but I feel like that it's just going to be too much to maintain at some point. You need to kind of put all those in a single resource file, or it's just going to be a nightmare to manage it. My opinion. Slowly moving between countries. Oh, you're headed over to Iceland, right? Is that correct? Heading out to Iceland. Yeah. So yeah, Telerik is a paid product, but it is a premium product with support and all that. So you kind of get what you pay for, and then some. It's going to shorten your dev time. You're going to save money in the long run by going to something like that. So it pays for itself, really. So let's see. We've got the Telerik localizer that takes in the global and the Telerik messages, and then I only need one localizer now to do all of my application localization. So I finally got that down to one dependency, which is nice. Sometimes you might prefer to do your own thing, but it's what does the customer or your boss want to pay for? Um, some of these things can be fun to build in your own time, though. So it can be a fun little hobby to make these components, uh, but it's hard to match the speed and um, the complexity that we put out in our with our components and all of our, for example, the localization that you get, accessibility, and all those things. We've got a whole team working on these components nonstop, so we've got quite the trajectory with this stuff. So if we go over to the index page, I've got my one string localizer. This page I think is pretty much uh, localized with all of its values. So we can see what that looks like if we run the application. And if I run this, so we'll walk through some of these localizations. I have some pretty good tips. This is something I've never had to do at scale before. All of my apps generally ran in a single country, so I didn't have to worry about this stuff. But I wanted to test out some of the localization features, and here we are. So if I go to settings on my app, I have this nice drop down where I can select my language, and here I'll change this over to Bulgarian. A little shout out to our engineering folks. And you can see everything has now changed on the index page to the Bulgarian language. Hey, Mr. Magoo, welcome back to the show. And then you can see some of the menu items changed as well. So this is where the global values are starting to plug in. And for sanity's sake, I'm going to change this back temporarily. And oh, actually, let's look at some of this page because it's kind of in limbo. So here's some of the stuff that we get built in. I'll change this back to Bulgarian for a minute. And you'll see like some of this is in English, some of it's in Bulgarian. Um, and then like all the buttons and things are changing and the values have been converted over to the right globalized values. So this all comes out of the box, and there's some places that we need to kind of fill in. But what's nice is some I get some free stuff from the fact that I have this Tellerk localizer and it has all of the values in it. So let's take a look at the resource files. Normally what I do is open up this global regex, and you can see here's the index page values and some of the other stuff that is appearing in the application. If we go back and look at the Tellerk messages, this is all the stuff that you get with the Tellerk library that comes with all of the components. So these are all different messages that belong to various components. And there's some that you get like aggregate values, aggregate sum, clear. These are things that are very common regardless of what you're building. And what's nice is, for example, node data. Like node data is something that is going to be pretty common, and we could have that on all sorts of different components. We can use these, we can reuse these just by looking in here and picking out the things that we need. And these are available, for example, if I want to do a button like I have here, if I look in that page under Manage Products, you will see that I'm using the localizer, and I'm saying grid edit, grid update, grid cancel, grid delete. And if I look at my corresponding Telerik messages, those are coming from this file that's been supplied with the framework. So I don't have to translate those. Those come translated out of the box for me. A little discussion back and forth on what people like to build and stuff. It's fun. Um, like for example, this application has been a lot of fun to build from the ground up. There are a couple of custom components in here too, stuff that we haven't implemented in our library yet. I've kind of taken some shortcuts and built those out. So I've got all of these resource files, and the resource manager is okay. It's not a bad experience. We talked about like the Visual Studio Code experience for that on the last show, and it's not quite up to par with what we get in Visual Studio, but I'm going to take this up one more notch. Let's add some more things to the app, and I'll show you a nice trick that will at least get you kind of a shortcut to getting some of these things localized. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We talked about it on the previous show. Somebody said, whatever you do, don't use like Google Translate to do your translations. Fonts are a little small. Let's fix that, Eagle. Let's fix that font size up a little bit. Oh yeah, that is small. It was on 12. Let's go up to a 16 here. And that should be a lot better. Should be a lot easier to read now. So on the last show, we talked about this, like kind of don't want to plug in some of these translations from Google translations directly, because they may not be in the right context when they come out the other side. It might not quite make sense. You can have some translation services done for you that will help out, but I want to at least show you how to get kind of halfway there and get to the point where you can hire somebody to do the rest of the translations. So we can show that next. So let's look at a page. Let's look at some of our stuff here that hasn't been translated. So I'm gonna run the app again. First of all, like we've got home here that hasn't been translated. What else do we have that we can look at? Manage projects, products like toggle ID. We actually have manage products, by the way. We could replace that there. Some of these other terms, group, product, cost, nutrition information, that is all stuff that we could try to translate. This is going to be an interesting one for me. Nutrition info. I don't know how the abbreviations would go in other languages, so see what we get. from the tool that I found. So let's see. Manage products, the title of our page here. We already have that one in our localization. So if we say at L, and then we open up a set of quotes here, we'll take that space out, and we should be able to localize manage products there. So that should fix that one. Let's look at this toggle button. Toggle ID. Let's do at L. I don't have a toggle ID yet. And again, this is something that is going to be a little tricky because I don't know if I'm toggling, if I don't know if ID, it's another abbreviation. I don't know how other languages handle that. Mr. McGoo says it'd be nice to have a localizer that tagged any untranslated string with a link straight to the place to submit the translation for approval, so users can submit translations while using the app. That's a pretty interesting idea. I think maybe just putting a link on the application itself might be a good enough solution for that. I don't know if you necessarily need to flag individual things that aren't translated. That's a great idea. We'll put toggle ID here, and let's see. I'm going to leave it underscore ID for a minute. I'm trying to come up with a good pattern to name these things. If they are used everywhere, I'm not prefixing them with anything. If they're used on a specific page, I'm prefixing them. Let's do maybe one more here. Like the word product, for example. Let's do at L product, and I'm going to keep that one just as it is there. And then let's take a look. Do another run here. So if I go back to that page, I have toggle underscore ID because I haven't translated that yet. Product isn't going to change because I didn't hyphenate it or anything like that. There wasn't really any way to do that. But let's go ahead and translate those and see what happens. So I'm going to go to View. And thank you for the follow. Let's see if I can grab that name there. Fancy Yellow, thank you for the follow. I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to go to Other Windows. And I've installed a plugin. I'll give a link to it in a minute here. Whoops. Let's go back. View, Other Windows. Come on. There we go. I was hitting the wrong button. I'm trying to get a zoom in. View, Other Windows. Then I have Resource Manager. So I've got Resource Manager here. Let me show you where I got that from. So I'll pull that window up. Other Windows, Resource Manager. And this is like the other Resource Manager I showed you, but it has a lot more features to it. So if we go to Extensions, Manage Extensions, you can see I've installed the RESX Manager. And I can get the, let's try more information here. That should bring us to the project. Here's the GitHub project for it. And what's cool about this resource manager is it scans your application for any resource files it finds. And here it's listed them out, and I can click on just one of them, and you can see my Telerik messages. Or I can click on my global, and I can view them together. And whatever I clicked on last will show up at the end. I think that's how it works. I just started using this the other day. Let's try toggling that one back off. Yeah, that was at the end. So here's my translating values. I'm going to add some new ones. So let's do that. I need to add a new key. enter a resource key, and then if I look at my application code, I've got toggle underscore ID, like that, hit OK. Now I've got toggle ID, and I can say here, I want this to be toggle ID. And notice I don't have a translation for Bulgarian, German, or Spanish, but I do have a tab at the bottom that says translate. I thought this was pretty cool. I know some uh, user or some people in the chat warned me against using automatic translations, but it's going to get us partially there, I feel like. So now I can put this in a UI here, and you can see I've got 3 places for toggle ID because that is going to be all of my language targets. And now I can hit start. And what's cool is it's going to go out to Azure, Deep Learning, Google, um, MS Terminology. I don't know what my memory is. These are all language translation services. It's going to go out, it's going to use those. And it looks like it did a pretty good job here of getting those translated, I think. At least recognized ID as a abbreviation, I think. And what we can do, you can kind of do a little sanity check here. We'll take this one, we'll throw it back in translation and see what that actually looks like. This one says switching, so that translated the word toggle to switching. I have to see if we have that in our Telerik library and see how close that came. Let's see what's in. Let's see if we have a toggle in Telerik messages. I don't know if we have a toggle or not in here. Yeah, I don't see the word toggle showing up. Oh, wait. Yeah, time picker, toggle clock. So we can kind of check through some of these. Toggle clock is similar to toggle ID. Let's see how that one translated over. Let's just do a little check and see. Open and close the watch. See, that's what somebody was saying about watching your translator and getting the context just just right. So instead of toggle, uh, our translation was open and close, and then we added the watch to the end. So the translation for just toggle ID probably isn't that good because again it was missing that context. So we're gonna open and close a column would probably be more accurate um, for that translation. So we could try something like that. Could reverse this. I don't know if we'd want to put all that on a button. That's quite a lot of information. This is another thing that we need to watch with globalization and localization is the spacing for these things can be quite different. Because we went from toggle ID, 2 words, to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words, 6 long words at that. So these are just things we need to keep in mind when we try to localize these things. So that's going to be interesting. Open and close. I'm going to use open close ID for that one for now. And I should get somebody to give me a little feedback on whether that's accurate or not. So if I go back to translate, sorry, I hit start, it did them. I'm going to paste in my own here. I'm going to put ID for that column. And then I'm going to apply selected. And that is going to put those in my resource file. It also looks like I need a API key for some of these. And it hasn't stopped me yet, so I'm assuming the Azure one or one of these is working. It's able to fetch it from one of those services, but there is an option to add those as well. So now if I go back and I rerun my application, I should be able to go to this page, and now I have my toggle ID here, and I changed product. I didn't do product yet. I just did the toggle ID. So now we can go back to Resource Manager here, and we can add, let's see, we need to add a key. The button is here. And then we need product. And we will do translate again. And it should, let's see if we can pick that back up. Translate. It's not picking it up for some reason or another. Do I need to select it? I need to select it, I bet. Nope. Try to close the tool and reopen it. For some reason, I'm not getting those in the translate feature. It showed up for me last time. Translate. All right, so hitting a little snag there. I may need to like close the project and reopen it or something. It doesn't seem to want to find that one translation, that one missing item. It's funny because I just added one and it worked a moment ago, and now it doesn't work at all. Oh, you know what? I bet I didn't save that. Let me see if I need to save it. Nope, that's not it either. Close that one and look at the global file. Product is there. It is not translate. Oh, I know what it is. I didn't give it the initial value. So you need to give it the current culture for it to translate. It can't translate the key. That was a silly mistake. Let's go back to other windows and resource manager. That was my goof there. So now I can hit translate and it will bring up product because it actually has something to translate. I'll hit start and it translated them all. And I will apply those. So there we go. Looks good to me. All right. So this is how we could go through this process and localize our application. And by the way, you need to build these resources every time you change them. They are actually converted into code inside of the library. They're not like text files, or they're not deployed as XML or anything like that. They're actually binary inside of your DLL. So now we've got product, and then we would need to do the rest of our headings. So I'll go back to manage products, and this is a pretty lengthy process actually. So we need to go through all of these things. We have add product here. Say add product. Got my L for localization. So add product is going to go here, and this is going to be grid. I don't know if grid. No, manage products. Add product. Because it's only on this page. I'm going to try to keep these all on this page. We've got product ID. So this is interesting here. Some of my column names get auto-genned, so you don't actually see the word group because it's pulling it off the object itself. You can see I'm using the name of operator, and I don't have a text field here. So what I need to do here is actually define a title field. because we're not actually telling it to use a title, and we need to tell it to localize that. So we'll say localize ID like that. Group is going to be title at L. And then IntelliSense, I'm still using the older, the non-experimental Razor editor. There is a new one. So if we look, there was a blog post about this. New Razor editor. Actually talked about it the other day. There's a new experimental Razor editor for Visual Studio. It is for Visual Studio Preview 4, which I'm not using right now. Yes, DevMan, I have background music on. If that is louder than me or annoying in some way, let me know. So I'm not running Preview 4, so I don't have the experimental editor enabled right now. If you want to try it out, install the Visual Studio Preview and flip this bit. Oh, you're not hearing it. Oh, okay. Let me see what's going on real quick here. Yeah, I'm not showing it coming through the microphone output. So yeah, Streamlabs decided it was going to turn off one of my audio inputs. So this one needs to be mapped here. There we go. Yeah, let me know if that's too loud or not loud enough. So we've got this experimental Razor editor. I haven't tried it yet. There are some known issues. I'm trying to move a little bit faster than dealing with some of these right now. But if you do have time to give this a try, make sure you get feedback to ASP.NET team. But keep in mind, there are these known issues right now. So, like, snippets do not work, stuff like that. But I'm not using it, but it is out there if you want to play with it. So before that question comes up, I just wanted to make sure I answered it. So I'm going to hit these column headers. I need to add a title field for each one, and then I can go ahead and replace those with the tool that I've got. So let me make sure. Got a span here rendering out. Oh, that's the actual group name. Let's see, data, groups, bind value, text field. That's the actual drop-down list content, so I can't localize that. This one has a title already. Cost does not. Some of these are just generic terms, so I'm not going to put any kind of name spacing around them or anything. I'm just going to say cost, like so, and put them in my global file. And then title, nutrition info. This is going to be a tricky one, I bet. I don't know what info is going to translate as. Just things to keep in mind. It's not going to be perfect. It's a demo app. I'm going to try to do my best. If you were going to do this in a more realistic fashion, I think you would try to hire somebody. It's a bit loud. No problem. You can cut that guy down. There we go. That should tweak the audio there a little bit. And I totally don't mind if I now made it too quiet and it needs to be louder. Just let me know. Try to get that right. So we'll translate those over, and then I think that's it for this page. You'll see like the counts here. This says 10 of 20. This is all coming from the Telerik UI library. So if I change this back to English, you'll see, whoops, I gotta wait for it to refresh. This is 10 of 20 items, and that is automatically translated for me on any data grid. So I don't have to go through and do all the individual component stuff. It's already done for me, so I don't have to worry about those. I just need to take care of all my titles, and then I also have to do the grid buttons. I showed these earlier. These actually have translations built in. I just need to explicitly call them out. Those ones aren't automatically picked up because I can customize those. So I've got product, cost, ID group. Let's take a look at how to do those. You can also load these from an Excel sheet, which is nice. This tool's got some really handy stuff. You've got import and export because you can't really send over a RESX file to a translation company. But what you can do is say export all, get an Excel sheet, send it to a translation company, give them access to the app so they can see the context of the application, and provide a translation file back in Excel format. Then you can just import it back in, and that gives you a nice workflow. I don't know what these all are either. It looks like there's some grouped. Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. This groups the translation by file, it looks like. There we go. I like that view there. This one only shows warnings. You can choose which columns you want to see. Detect code references. That's an interesting one. Don't see that feature is working though. It says 0 everywhere. And I know I have code references to these objects. It must not be able to pick them up in Razor, is what I'm guessing. But if I put that code reference in C# somewhere, I bet it would pick it up. So that's pretty cool. Wrap long lines, not worried about that. Let's go ahead and add. Oh, I have to select a single source before I can add. That makes sense. So we're going to add product. Oh, we have product. Oops. Let's do ID. Then we need to add group. We need to add nutrition info is going to be an interesting one. So we'll add those. Group. Oh, cost is the other one. I knew there was more. We'll hit cost in there. And then we actually have to give the English version. So ID, group, nutrition info, and cost. It's important that you spell them right when you do that. So those are all there. And again, you'll see duplicates because this one is the Bulgarian, this is the German, and this is the Spanish one. So you'll see duplicates there. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. Gaines, or sorry, Ganesh. My fault. I thought it was a friend's name that I recognized. It is not. Welcome, Ganesh. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to uncheck that and hit start again, and it should translate all of those over. That one is very, very odd to me. I don't know where it got period and colon from. I'm going to take those out and just leave it as ID. That is the Spanish version Pretty sure it's just an again, it's an abbreviation, so I'm going to assume it's just going to be the same. And this one is using Cyrillic, so I know this is ID as well. So that one looks right to me. I'm going to hit apply, whoops, apply all. And then those are now in my file. I can save it, and then a little rebuild will implement those in the application. And now if I go over, you can see I've got translations on all the headings. And I'm curious to see again if I grab, let's see, I want to reverse translate one of these and see what the nutrition info came back as. So I'm going to grab this one here. It came back as nutrition exactly. That I like. It doesn't say information or info. So that would be something. Whoops, putting it on the wrong side. You swap that back around. I may need to use the whole word there for that one. And I believe I have room for it in that column. And we can always go back and rerun the app to see if that is true. Yeah, I had plenty of room for that. So that got translated over. Oh, I'm seeing one more set of things. So I have a template here that has like not available is one of the things, and view is the other. So not available in view need to be translated as well. And there's also an editor box that I'm probably missing. These got translated over. So those came from the same as the column headings, so I don't have to put those in twice. My file upload button came through, and these buttons got translated over as well. So now I need to translate just the view and not available template. So that is a custom editor template. If I go over to my Teller grid, when you click on edit, I've got this editor template that pops up, and there should be an if statement in it. Here it is. For this column, this is not available. And that one, actually, I might have a translation I can already use for that one. So let me see. If I go into other windows, resource manager, and I look in the Teller resources, I think there's a grid, no data. Nope, there's a multi-select no data. I could use no data for that one. So that could work. Wonder, how can I search this? Does this have a search by the neutral language? Does this search? No, that doesn't search there. That searches the tree over here. There's a filter box here, so maybe I could do that. So I could say filter. That filter doesn't work the way I thought it would. If I click on it, I'm not getting Oh, okay, there we go. So it's just a it's an odd UI mechanic there. It doesn't bring down a filter menu, it just is a search box. So let's say no data. So we've got no data, um, no items to display. No records available. So there's a couple things that I could use here. I would say and again, they all are different because maybe they have different context. So I might not want to use something that, let's see what a multi-select, what the actual translation is, because it may have something to do with the context of the component too. So let's see, oops, did that backwards. No data found. It's not really finding data, it just isn't there. So again, that has to do with the context question that, or situation that somebody pointed out, is if I'm doing some sort of search behavior, no data found makes more sense than just no data. And it's a little more exact as to what I'm doing. I'm actually searching for something and nothing is found. If I were to put that multi-select no data in that column, it might be a little odd because it'd say view. This is not available. It'd say no data found. It's not really that no data is found. None has actually ever been defined. So maybe it's a little semantic, but let's go ahead and just add our own instead. So yeah, I've seen it do this before too. It's a little sticky here. I need to clear this filter. There we go. So let's add a not, let's see, not available there. Not available. And then we also have view. View might be something that we already have though. So let's check that one out real quick. Nope, no view. No, not that either. View. Open? Nope, I don't have an open either. All right, so I'm going to go back and try view. And then again, view goes here, and then we'll translate those values over. And we'll apply those. And now those are in there. I need to go back and put them in my code. So we'll do @L for localization. Take the space out. And your semantics for how you want to write these keys is totally up to you. I still haven't quite settled on something yet. I think I'm starting to get there, but this is how it's starting to come out. And now I've got that. Another thing, if you have any kind of like tooltips, oh, here's another one. Save and then edit the nutrition info. That's a whole sentence that I need to structure there. So that one I want to describe a little bit more. So this one is the product upload dialog. save dialog. So that goes there. And then we need to replace this whole sentence here. So that's going to be our save dialog that goes right there. Oh, sorry, our Dallas. Oh, I did not see the raid. How did I miss the raid come in? I must have been focused on what I was doing. Welcome to the show. Yes, I was really focused on something. Sorry, Steve. It looks like he took off. Steve Smith, thanks for the raid. I'll catch everybody up. So what we're doing right now is some localization using Blazor and ASP.NET and Telerik UI for Blazor. So I was running through and doing some quick localization of this page. And now we can see some of those localizations coming through in our application. So I've got the product upload save information here. We'll go ahead and translate this over. I'm using a little plugin. I don't know if I pasted this into chat earlier or not. If I go to manage extensions, I'm using this plugin called Resource Manager for helping with the translation and management of my resource files. It's a really cool open source project. Make sure you check that out. And it's allowing me to add these translations very quickly. And then I can go back into my app and see them light up. So that one looks pretty good. I think I may have missed something as I caught this, the raid come in. Let's close all these other tabs out. Let's go back to that page. So I've got all of my grid headers working now. If I click on my edit button, everything in here is translated. If I click on a new, there's one. Manage products, add product needs to be fixed. This one is now translated with some odd punctuation. Go in and fix that one. I notice this translator loves to throw in lots of extra punctuation where it's not needed. So we'll go ahead and fix that while we're in there. So manage products, add product we need to take care of. And then the tool's actually telling me there's some odd punctuation in here. It did it on all of these translations, which is strange. Put them both on Spanish and that as well. And then we need the add button. The add button here. I don't like that that's modal. I like to be able to swap back and forth. So there is one add button up here at the top. And we need to add that in. That's the key for it. And it's just simply going to say add product right there. And then we'll go ahead and pop that one into our translation. Start, apply all. And we need to rebuild one more time. And we should have everything ready on that page. And then we could maybe have a little chat about something else. So there's our not available. Don't know the literal translation for it, but I can see that it's actually using a negation there, so it is saying not available. We've got our add button, our little warning messages here. One thing I haven't looked into yet, I don't know if I'll be able to get to it today, is let's try to save. Yeah, see, I don't know where this is living yet. The group field is required. So the validation messages also need to be translated somewhere. And I'm not sure if I have any of that yet. So validation would be on my models, and let's say that would be sales. No, sorry, that was a product. Under products, it has required, but I don't have the message, so I need to look into this one as well. I don't know if I inject the localizer right there, or there. I'm sure there's another way I need to do it. Oh, so you want to check some of the Spanish translations for me? That would be great. Let's see. I know these things just by looking at some of the Bulgarian ones already. I know they're not perfect. They are a start, but they are simply not like that accurate. So, so this one is save then edit nutrition, or save then edit to add nutrition info. I don't know if the info part. It seems to. I mean, I can kind of grasp what it's trying to say there. So I will give you the. This is the English version, and I will also paste in the Spanish translation it came up with. So this is for the save dialog. It's warning you that you have to save before you can do a file upload. So that'd be one. That actually looks good. Oh, cool. Again, I don't know which resource it's pulling it from. There's a couple different APIs it can call, and you can configure these up here. And it says you need an API key. So I don't know if it's MS terminology or what. One of these is definitely working because it's doing something. But you can put Azure keys and Google keys in here, and it will pull from different resources to get a translation. Oh, the punctuation I had before was correct with the, let's see, what was it? It had some, I don't want to delete the whole thing. No. It had some extra, let me go back and see what it had before. So I'll hit start again. So it has some exclamation points on it. So cost is incorrect. Huh, okay, cool. Appreciate the help with that one. Let me see what else we got here. Yeah, I don't have a Dutch translation. I could actually add that as well. I need it in my localization info, so I can show. That's a good point to make, though, DevMan. Oh, I thought I was pasting what I thought I saw in chat, so that's correct. So DevMan, here's what we can do. I'm not going to add this right now because it's a lot to work through, but I'll show where that would actually go. If we wanted to add another language, there's a couple places we need to touch. So if I go to my application, let's see, program, CS. Yeah, it's not that one. Let's see, where does it get plugged in here? I have a shared component called culture chooser. There we go. We would start here. We need to add a new culture data. So, yeah, let's give it a try. We would duplicate that. And then we need Dutch. And then I don't know what is the Devman, if you're there. What is the localization abbreviation? Is this what, an ISO standard? NL. Is it lowercase nl, capital NL? Like that? And then once we have that, we need to define a translation file for all of those. So I would come in, let's see, if I look at my resource manager again, I'm trying to think, how do I add another? Maybe it's under translate. Targets. Languages? Here we go. Languages, and then, oh, all the abbreviations are in here, by the way. So let's add Dutch. So NL. And then if I hit save, let's go back to translate. Oh, it didn't add it to my target. Let's try that again. Languages. This is all new to me, by the way, so I'm trying to figure this all out. EN. Oh, there are a lot of languages. The German. Where did it go? Dutch. There it is. I can select it. I don't see it adding it anywhere. This is an overview of the languages supported by the system. It shows the specific language grouped by the neutral language. To change the flag to be, double click. Did I do it or not? I don't see it adding a target. I'm kind of curious, how do I add a target? Code generator, don't want that. I have keys. I have comments. I don't have a... Maybe I have to add a physical file? That may be the case. So, see, I don't have any file for it. Let's try that. Do it the manual way. There's nothing in the tool I can see. I'm new to the tool, so... James asked, random place to, but figure other nerds might know. Are there released FCCs or FOCs correct on Microsoft? There is no AX wireless. I don't have any clue what you're talking about, James. Sorry. I don't know what that even means. Feels like it's out of context with what we're talking about, so I'm missing. If you clarify, maybe I can help. I don't know. So we need a global dot NL resource file, and then we'll leave that empty. And if I come back to translate, it still doesn't have a target. Let me try closing the resource manager and reopening it. And it's still not showing a new column here at all. Oh, here we go. Add a new language. There we go. Jeez, why didn't I see that earlier? In the drop-down list. There we are. There we go. I found the dialogue for it. There. Now it added a whole new thing. There we go. We can go to translate. And it hasn't shown up here yet. So this is out of sync a little bit, maybe. Or maybe that's not supported by... Did we save? Do I have to save first? Save. Translate. No. I added a new language. There it goes. Now it came up. Nope. These are all things. The targets are not here. So let's try. I'm going to close the project. We'll reopen the project. And maybe that will solve our problem. I'd hate to have to do that just to add a new language, but it seems like the tool is not picking it up. Toolbars, no, other windows, resource manager. I hit the wrong one. Try that again. Boom. Resource manager, close this window. I'm going to run a build. Seems to not be picking up my resource files. Sometimes a build will kick off this as well. Nothing. Refresh did it. Refresh brought it in. There we go. Now I've got, so it's a shame I had to do that, but it looks like I needed to reload the whole thing. And now I have all of these targets available. So I'll hit start. Now, DevMan, we will add translations with the automated tool, but I cannot guarantee that these things will be translated well. And this is something we were talking about on the show last time was somebody said, please don't do this to your users. We're going to do it anyway. It's chugging along. I don't know where it gets these from. Oh, I see a little spinner here. So my memory, I've never heard of that API before, but it looks like that's where it's pulling its resources from. It's looking good so far. All right, I'll take your word for it. It's chugging away. Yeah, you got to start somewhere. I think it gives. So here's the I can't pronounce the name there. SYS K80K. That's awesome. Yeah, Min and Max seem right to me too. I'm sure that's spot on. They look good. So my opinion here is if you're gonna hire someone to do this, this at least cuts down possibly on some of the workload you're gonna offload to them. So you could say, you know, they only have to kind of check some of these, and then they can go back and fill in the ones that are completely just way off. But yeah, so a lot of these probably do sound odd without context. So there we go. So we just added the translations. It's pretty smart. It's picking up the interpolation patterns. So where there are parentheses and numbers for the string formatter, it's actually found those. I'm going to hit apply all here. And then now that I have those, I can go back. And these warnings, by the way, are usually punctuation issues. It sees that is different punctuation from some of the translations, and it kind of raises a flag there. Doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's a concern to look at. If I was kind of multilingual, I might be able to solve some of those, but I do not know. ASP.NET Neo Ash says, as ASP.NET Core supports portable objects, PO files, can we use PO files in Blazor? I'm not familiar with PO files to answer that. Don't think I would know. So now our dropdown has Dutch. Click on that, and now it is in Dutch. And then I ask again, DevMan, is this double punctuation correct? The sound, like, this is where it throws those warnings the translators putting double punctuation on these. No. So it should be either one or the other. Is it exclamation or period? What is a PO file? Portable object file. I have never heard of PO files before. What is a PO file? Yeah, I've never seen one of these. That seems like a rabbit hole. I'm not sure about that one. Here we go. Configure portable object localization ASP.NET Core. Anything that works in ASP.NET Core will work in Blazor, as far as I'm aware. So it looks like there's ways to use this. I'm not even really using Blazor so much as I am using just .NET in general. So it looks like you can use these PO files if you'd like to. Now with Progress, Teleric's UI framework, we use the RESX format for our stuff. So that's why you'll see it in there. But that's good to know about. I never knew about those. So go back to DevMan real quick. Which punctuation should it be if I see these? Is it, so it's showing period bang. Should it be that? Or is it period? Or is it exclamation point? Which, it won't let me type that. So, same as in English. So it's period. So period is period and exclamation is exclamation. Looked like with the Spanish translations, some of the exclamation points were valid. So I guess it's a little more if you're telling someone to do something rather than leaving it a little more neutral. Yeah, so there's quite a few of those, it looks like. I'd probably do like a find and replace on some of those to fix them. It looks like some of the stuff it couldn't come up with a translation at all for. Oh, because no English was provided. That's interesting. I don't know how those are working. Grid select. We must not have a translation available for that one yet. That's what it is. Yeah, so let's see. That one too. Yeah, there's a bunch of those that need to be fixed. I'm not going to do them all right now and bore everyone to death by removing exclamation points from the app. But you saw there was like 2 or 3 touch points that we did to add Dutch to the list of languages. Then once we have that in the list of languages, then we create a new file. Unfortunately, we had to reboot the Visual Studio to get the experience to work. But basically, we added that, and we added the resource, and we hit translate, and then we just added Dutch to the application. So it really wasn't that bad. Really wasn't that bad at all. The bad part is going through each view in the application and wiring all these localizations up. Oh, and then I caught one here. This is probably going to fail in this template, possibly. So let's see, we're on manage products. This is the cost column. Somehow I thought that was actually working. Let's see, manage products, cost column. Yeah, that actually did work. So that did get localized or globalized, whichever. I always get those mixed up. So for Spanish, if the English ends in exclamation, then yeah, and it starts with the exclamation. Yeah, so that's one thing that's interesting about Spanish is you have the punctuation and question marks before and after with the upside down version of it. But what was being translated didn't have an exclamation point in the original text, but it did in the translated text, which I thought was kind of odd. Yeah, so I guess I guess because I didn't specify you'd put it here, format provider with a localization on it, it picked it up from the system because I didn't see that cost coming through. Although I'm sure you'd have to do some currency conversion or something on that, but you get the idea. We're not going to take it that far, but it works. It actually went to pounds or euros or whatever. Sorry, euros, not pounds. My bad. If it sounds like a command, then the translation adds it. Got it. So this is it's working pretty good. It's pretty interesting to see it come along. I'm missing home. That's one that I need to fix, and I'll show where that's at. So there's various levels to this stuff. So this is in the main template. This is in a view in itself, and these I haven't bothered with. That's not going to change. GitHub, Telerik, documentation would, support would. So we could translate those too. So let's look at where those live. And then I'll do the rest of these on my own time, but I wanted to show on the show the kind of the process that's involved here. It's a pretty simple process. It's just a time-consuming one. But that time is cut down by some of the tooling that is available. Yeah, the tool is very awesome. Did I post that in the chat room? I think I did. I posted a link to that, but it's just Resource Manager. If you go into extensions, manage extensions, and just type Resource Manager, RESX Manager, type it in search, hit install, and you'll have it. They are looking for donations monetarily, and I'm sure if anybody's interested in helping the project as well, they would take some submissions. So that is also something to think about if you're interested in that kind of tool. Remember to look through this stuff. I don't think I have any here, but if there's any kind of text that's in your code, you should make sure to put that in your localization workflow as well. I don't think I have any in that view, but let's go over to the shared. I have my layouts here. My main layout has some stuff in it. Language, first of all, would be one of them. Let me look at my culture chooser too. So that needs a change. Documentation and support are in here too. Those are things that need to be worked on. So I'm going to pare this back down, and I'm going to say documentation and support. Those are just kind of one-word things that we need to add. GitHub and Telerik are not going to be translated. Home was the other big one that kept sticking out to me. Really wanted to fix that home. Add home. There we go. We'll add that there. And in here we also have language. I need to look at my culture chooser as well. So under culture chooser, I have select your language here. This I don't need because it says language in the label. I'm going to put that here, select language. And then I need to put that in my I keep wanting to go to the browser for this. You know what I should do? Pin this to the side here for a second. That should make this a lot easier. Select language. That in. Yeah, I know I'm pasting from the thing. So language chooser, select language. That one goes in here. Another thing that we're going to build on the show next week is going to go into the settings here, and that's the theme. Right now, it has an automatic theme recognition based on your OS. Let's say select theme instead. It has automatic language or automatic theme recognition. So if I choose a dark theme, it will automatically adjust the application to use a dark theme. And I want to be able to override that. So if I go to settings, I have this. I want to be able to override that with some light dark theme settings in case you manually want to set those. We'll do that on the next show. While I'm in here tinkering with this, it reminded me that that's something that I need to do next. You should, sorry, I'm just catching this now. You should have a language guess, not just select language when you haven't chose any. Yeah, that gets into a whole other thing. So yeah, this is a common problem too. Actually, the browser, let me think. I think it does pick your language by default. So if you've ever accidentally set like your television or any other device, unfortunately, the option to change your language does actually get displayed in the current culture. So things get really awkward when that happens. So I'm not, from my general experience, not from like working knowledge, but just as a user, I've noticed that is kind of the case everywhere. If I go to settings, can I set my browser's language? Oh, you know what? I bet it's in, I'm doing that wrong. If I go to DevTools, security, application. So the culture value gets set as a cookie, or local storage rather. But I'm pretty sure we're able to auto detect that. Trying to remember. When we come into the language chooser, let's take a look. Let me finish this real quick. Let's select the language, select the theme. I keep forgetting my L here. Select theme. We would have to change the values in that drop-down box as well, and just like we would the language one. All right. So far, we've got that, but let's see. We've got this close button too. Oh wait, that doesn't actually have the word close in it. Settings is another one. Okay, we've got those. Let's go ahead and just pop this translation tool one more time here. Translate, start. Let it go through those. Apply those. At L quote. Oh. Settings. Okay. Close this for a second. And let's see if we can look at our navigation manager. Or not navigation manager, sorry. The language selector. Culture chooser. So this will try to get the culture. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's, I don't think this is detecting the initial culture from the browser. Let's double check this one. So Blazor WebAssembly apps set the culture using the user's language preference. Yeah, so let me see if it's in my little JavaScript here. So there's a little JavaScript interrupt that happens, and it's in this file here. So I need to add here that if there is no I need to get navigator language on the initial load. So if I want to check local storage, and if there's no value in local storage, then I want to save the navigator language if that is available to local storage. Is that kind of what you're thinking? Who asked that question? Could you pick I'm not sure how to pronounce the name there, but you asked, can you pick the browser's language? So yeah, so what we could do here is we could say navigator language. If I go inspect, you can do this on any page, should be able to anyway. Console, I'll paste that in. You see I've got ENUS. Now, one thing that might be tricky here is I need to make sure. So if I do this, if I said, if I get this and window dot local storage, Blazor culture is not, or let's say, I wonder if it's going to be undefined if it's not set. Let me try something. Window local storage. If I just go into the browser, I'm not going to have it on this page. I shouldn't anyway. Yeah, undefined. If it's undefined, then if I have local storage, then, whoops, that's the opposite. So if I don't have any local storage, then I can pick the user's language. Now, if I think through this, there's going to be a little bit of an issue here. So I need, where's that example? Navigator language is what I want to get. And I want to save this. And this could be refactored pretty heavily now that I'm adding some stuff here. I want to set that navigator language there. So now I know it has that. And then I can return it safely here. The issue is there are far more navigator language than there are supported languages by my app. So if we look under Culture Chooser, I've got 5 languages. So if you can come in and say, we've got German, Spanish, Bulgarian, Dutch, maybe it is Russian. Say you're coming from a Russian culture settings. If your navigator language is Russian, it's not going to find anything. So then what does it do? So we need to add somewhere some kind of not supported fallback. So if I hit, we could handle this in a couple places actually. I would probably like to handle it here. So I have to add a list of supported cultures here, which I think I could do. Let's see. I could add it right to the get statement here and just say, this is something I'm going to have to maintain. The neutral language should be English. So what you're doing here is you're just setting, so the user has the ability to override Elliot. Um, you want the user to be able to come in and set their language, because just because it detects something in the browser doesn't mean that that's the normal use case for that user. So what you don't want to do is every time I come to Blazing Coffee, it detects something on my system that, like I have the Bulgarian language on mine. So if you look, I've got 2 languages selected in my language preferences, and my default is English, but I can toggle with Windows space between the 2. What I don't want my apps doing is saying that every time I enter the app, I'm going to have to go in and change my settings because it's auto detecting it for me. So I want to be able to override this. I don't want this to be something that my app always auto detects and always selects for me. So I want it to auto detect on the first run so I can come back the next time and it's already there for me. So what this does is I could add the auto detection on the first time I enter the app, and then it will have the local storage available with that setting unless I override it through the set method. Once the set method overrides it, then it's not going to auto detect anymore still. It's just going to grab the local storage from then on out until I change it back. So that way I'm not annoyed as a user every time I leave the website and come back the next day, it's changed again. So I could detect it. Let's see what happens if I set a value that's not supplied. So let's do a little kind of like unit test, for lack of a better term. Let's hard code this in. Let's wipe this out for a minute. Let's return a language that's not here and see what happens to the app out of curiosity. So if I go to, let's go back to Resource Manager and just pull something out of it that I know I don't support. Go back to Languages. And I don't have, let's say, let's grab, I think Russian was a good example. Let's see what happens if I throw, was it RU? I mean, I can really grab anything. I'm nitpicking here. Here, let's do Polish. PLPL, that's easy for me to remember. So if I don't support Polish, but I get Polish from my culture selector, what is it going to do? So this automatically defaulted back to English, it looks like. So I don't know how that got resolved the way it did, but it looks like it figured English was what needed to be selected. And that's what it did. So if I return a value from here that doesn't fit the mold, it doesn't seem to break anything. So I think I can I don't need to check it for an incorrect input. So let's try this. Let's grab navigator language. How do I test this? Because I'm on English. Let's see if there's a way to force it in the settings. Let's do little tab bankruptcy here. Get rid of those tabs off the screen. Let's inspect this. And then under app, let's see, maybe it's in here. I think there's a tool possibly for this. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. You can just add a language to the browser. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it in settings, or is there a test And Herbert, thanks for the follow. Network. Is there one in application? Because here's my cookie or my session state, whatever it's called. Is there a, let's see here. It's not going to be a manifest. It's not a cookie. Here we go. Preferences. Theme, system preference. Oh, cool. Check this out. Light theme. Oh, that's not the OS one. That's not the one I was thinking of. This is the theme here. Panel layout. Workspaces. Locations. Custom locations. Let's try. I think this is more of a geolocation thing. That adds to the list of geolocations available. We're not going to use geolocation to figure this out. And we are going to ban that user. So that was removed. It's just under advanced in regular settings? Should be a developer option. Settings, advanced, languages. There we go. Thank you. Language. So this is going to be English. Add a language. There we go. Let's add Bulgarski. Let's see. So if I move this up, that should be the default. Let's see if that did anything here. Let's refresh this page. Let's see in the console if I do navigator dot language. It's still English. I have 3 languages available though. That's kind of odd. It has Bulgarian in there. But yeah, the US is still on top, but it's not the full name. Let me try this. Let me close my browser completely. I'm going to lose chat for just a second, so hang on to your Q&A stuff. I have to close all my browsers probably for this to work. And then let me get my Twitch panel back up. I had to do that on another screen, so sorry if I lost any chat there. So you can ask questions again and make comments. That's back. And then if I go to localhost, all right, let's see here. Yeah, it's still, English is still on top, even though I set those settings. Settings. Used when translating pages. I wonder if I have to do display. Yeah, I have to relaunch to do that. Launch. This could get tricky. So now the entire browser is displaying Bulgarian. And again, I might have lost chat again. It refreshed all my pages. If I refresh this, it didn't pick anything up because I still have navigator dot language. So this just says BG. This doesn't use the full ISO code because don't know why. So let's see if I go back. So settings, yeah. Settings. I know just enough of this to get around here. Whoops. Uh-oh. I think this changed something on me. Oh yeah, I gotta toggle this down, that's right. And then this is English. And then we talked about this, guys and girls. We talked about this. Maybe BG is the code? No, because if I look in here, A, B, where is it? There it is. It should be BG, then capital. Like the main code. Yeah. Oh, I gotcha. So there aren't any subcodes underneath of it. But yeah, it's gonna take some more kind of traversing of this what's available then. So I'd have to look and see if that's not there, then maybe do a contains. Yeah. So it's language country. So there's only one country there, so that works in that scenario, but not in others. So that in my culture chooser though, this is the value it's going to look for. So the browser's not reporting. Yeah, but it's fun to talk about. It's really interesting. I'd like to be able to do that. It's fun to see like what caveats we hit though. So we ran into a little bit of an issue because the browser's not reporting what we expected. So the browser says that's the language. So we'd have to do a different type of search to see. We'd have to kind of do like an exact search, I guess, and see if the exact like BG came up. And if it doesn't, then do a second look and just see if the country code is there. Oh, is my my JavaScript code in reverse? I like that. Lesson learned. Yeah, don't translate sites. Just don't do it. Don't do globalization. So here's the issue though. The browser reports differently than it's reporting two different types of strings back that it could be a 2-letter code or it could be a 4-letter code. So that's annoying, in my opinion. Because there's going to be a lot of these that just have 1-letter codes. Or 2-letter codes. There's some that I think I saw in here that are 3 letters and 2 letters as well. But I think these are a standard. I guess you'd have to add some type of lookup table that has ones that would come back from the browser. Gosh, you'd think the browser would default and go ahead and, if there's only one code, give you back the 4-letter code. Why does it not do that? let's try this. Let's do navigator dot languages. Yeah. What a pain. All right. So let's do this. I want English back. So I managed to get that. Oh, I can spell check Bulgarian? That's awesome. Yes, let's turn that on. So that is usable. That is something I can use for future information. Yeah, so that's not going to work that easily. So for now, I mean, you could, with enough work, you could make this happen, right? You could detect that the navigator dot language is there, and then work through some of the caveats for it, and then you could automatically select it. So we're not going to be able to do that today, but it's something we could try later. At least we know there's browser support, even though it's not great. Another thing that we'd have to check. So this is going to be fun. Think about this too. So if Chrome, let's try this. They're both, these are both going to be Chrome. Let's try it here. So this one's ENUS and EN. So it'd be interesting to see on, there really aren't that many browsers these days. Depending on the browser as well, you might see different language codes come out. Let's try to add here. So this could vary by browser to browser as well. I don't think we're going to see any variation in Edge because it's a Chrome-based browser. So it's likely that navigator.language, the API is the same. Yeah, that one came back as just BG as well. But Firefox, yeah. So actually, this might. I think you gave me an idea. So this actually could work. If the hyphenated and the first are the same, then we could also take so here's something that we could do. We could put a statement in that says, if here, I'll put it up on the screen. I don't have to do this right now, but we'll just kind of have a little thought exercise. For the languages that don't have, I'd have to look at all of the languages to see if this is true. If the first part is equal to the second part, then we could see that as equal to that. And then that might help us with our narrowing down of the language that we are using. Let's take a look. This tool had a pretty good list in the resource manager here of languages. So do they all follow? If they have a single country and language. So BG is BG. How many others are like this? No, see, they don't follow that pattern. Yeah, that doesn't work either. So some have a country with the same language. Yeah, this is a whole thing that I'm not familiar with. You'd have to, yeah. Right. Right, that wouldn't work. Why does the browser not just give us back the full thing? Come on, browsers. So I'm wondering here if yeah, I think you'd have to put in a lookup table of some sort that I guess this is pretty common. You're gonna have to map these somewhere. If you're gonna detect it, you're gonna have to map it somewhere. Yeah. I guess I need to read up more on it, I guess. So these are the values that came out of the Microsoft Docs with the country and language code in it. So if the language is the first part, we only really need to look at, well, no, because there's language. English US is going to be different than English UK. It's a whole thing. I need to research it more. Yeah, I'm going to have to research that one more. Yeah, currency rolls into that as well. So the browser is only going to give me back a portion of it, it looks like. Whereas the application needs really both. On the table, let's see, for Spain. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So the browser doesn't give the full localization then. Although it does, it has two values for when I do inspect console navigator dot language, I get en back. If I do languages, I've got English, Bulgarian, and en US. So it has the two, it has this array that it holds that value in. So I'm assuming it picks up something from that. Yeah. Yeah, but DevMan, that's not always correct. I'd have to know for sure. I need to do some that's why I keep saying I need to do research. I said that earlier, but if you look at the table, not all the languages match in that fashion. I can't remember which one I saw earlier. Like, this is just one example here. Those aren't always equal. Because that one would be BEZ, and that's not going to be correct. Anyhow, we shall digress. Something we could add later with the right background research. I think for the most part, this solves the 80% rule. It's something I want to look up sometime, though. Let's see. Yeah, so, here's where I actually did have a fallback. So I did hard code a fallback in here. So if we're unable to get a culture, it defaults back to English. So I did have that coded. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, like ENUS and ENUK is a great example. It didn't return the complete code, though. It's in the list. So if I look, it doesn't return the complete code. I actually get EN for my language. Look, navigator.language is EN. It doesn't include the rest of the code in there. It's in the list. I don't understand the priorities of these. That's something I said, that's why I keep saying I need to research it. I don't know what I'm talking about here. I have EN, Bulgarian, and then ENUS in that order, which does me no good as a developer from my perspective right now. Yeah. So that's odd. I have to look more into how these settings work and how they're reported. Spell check for English United States. So this says English. It doesn't say English. Oh, there's English United States. This was, I believe, the default language used to display the Chrome UI. So if I moved this, I'm pretty sure, I'll have to look back at the stream to be 100% sure. I'm pretty sure English is the top. I don't believe English United States was the top one, but we'll relaunch that. And if I go back, now it's going to be so now it'll be ENUS. Now it's ENUS because I made sure that one had priority. So it's not so much a standard thing that I can just pull out of the air right now. So I'll tinker with that one another time. So we've got, in the app, we've got authentication. We've got the beginnings of some localization. Oh, I didn't finish that part. I think I got sidetracked there. We've got lots of different samples in all of these all of these pages. that we can dig through. We got file uploads and convert from Word to PDF. All sorts of examples in this application so far. It's kind of the kitchen sink Blazor app. So I'm going to keep working on adding features to it. And the Razor editor just went off the rails. So I'll keep working on features here. We'll do them on the show. I try to keep the busy work offline. I'll go through and localize the rest of the pages off when the show's not airing. And then next week, I think what we'll do, I need to revert this file just in case. Next week, what I think we'll do is we'll add the theme selector to it. So if we look at the app now, it automatically picks the theme based on your theme setting. Almost said language. I'm stuck on that. So if I go to color, this is my OS color picker, theme picker. If I choose light theme, the app automatically picks up that theme. What I would like to do is be able to override it. Maybe we have some accessibility needs. We want to set like high contrast or something like that. Then maybe we want to override the theme as well. So we'll look at how we can do that with a little line of JavaScript. And unfortunately, our app won't respond in this way so much. I guess if it's automatic, it will. But yeah. Does the globalization you have deal with money and plurality and stuff like that? In some cases, I believe it does. So basically, what we provide for the most part is a translation file. Actually, this is something I need to look up. Selleric.com. If it is custom code, it will not. If it is embedded in a component, it should. So if I look under globalization, yeah. So globalization is the format strings for numbers and dates. So if you look at that, it will handle dates and like it'll use periods instead of commas and commas instead of periods based on like the cost. So you'll see that change. Let's go to sales. So if I go to sales, notice I've got the US backwards way of describing a date. So 7 in this means July. If I go to Bulgarian, much like the rest of the world, this is going to be the day first, then the month, then the year. And then I didn't physically have to go in and change this to day. Or, yeah, day. Or does that say today? That says today. That's today. And then, let's see if I'm hovering here. Yeah, see, even the hover text and everything gets translated for me. And then all the months as well. So all the months get changed and formatted correctly or spelled correctly. So that is very helpful. And then you can see here, there's the comma instead of a period in those totals. So it does handle a majority of that stuff. And then now you can see the commas and the decimals are back where they belong. I keep saying period, it's a decimal. Now, oh, let me check here. I don't remember if this transaction date column is custom or not. Let me double check that one. I wasn't looking down here. Yeah, okay. So this one it's built into the column. If this was a custom template, depending on my own custom template code, those might be different. So that's something to just watch out for. It's doing the best it can with what it has. So if you put some custom code in there that breaks convention, it's still going to break. It doesn't hold your hand, but it does give you a lot out of the box. So looks like that is working now. Documentation support is still not translated. I'm going to fix those, and then we're going to go ahead and raid somebody. So main menu. These are down here. So localize documentation, and we will localize the word support. And we will try to rebuild. I don't know why that keeps throwing the Blazor editor off, but it does. And now, yep, now the documentation and support have also been updated. So, oh, we need more info. I missed that one somehow. So that was up in the template too. So that is the Blazor editor. Jeez. More info. We'll do a find. More in space info. Okay, that is actually in. Okay, now I know where that is. There is a nav menu, and there is one called drawer template. So this sidebar has a template region to it, and that's where the more info actually lives as well. So if I look at this, there's more info right there. Took a second to find it. And I don't believe I have my localizer here. I do not. So I have to inject an Telleric string localizer as L. And then I think that using statement can come out of there. I think that was left over from something else. And I'll just concatenate that together. And then in my resource file, I'll add one final translation for the day. Add more info. The key does not get concatenated together. Okay. Paste that in. It does to me every time. Paste. If it can sense that I'm pasting it wrong to alert me that I'm pasting it wrong, then why can't it correct me and just do the right thing? It's open source. Contribute to it, right? If I'm going to complain, I should put a pull request in on the thing. So we'll go ahead and put that together, and then let's see how that came out. What I want to do is have at least like the shell of the application translating, then I can go through on my own time here and translate the pages. And now I've got those, more info. Refresh that. There we go. So now we are fully translated on this side, except for I'm going to leave this alone for a little bit. I haven't quite got to the authentication bits. I don't know where to translate those quite yet. It's in a whole other assembly. So that's an issue. That's a .NET thing. So if I go and look at my profile, to translate all of this, it's in another library altogether, which is compiled already. So I have to go through and override all the templates and localize all the templates as I override them. This is going to be work. I'm not doing this right now. That's not going to happen on the show. Too much. Yeah. You can scaffold it. That's true. So what I could do is I could come in, and I will not walk through this because it will blow up my application, but basically on the server app, I can come in and say add scaffolded item, identity, click identity again, hit add, and then I can hit overwrite all the files, and then I have to go through all 100 account areas and other admin pages, and yeah, that's a lot of files. Not going to do that right now. No, but I'll recap a little bit though. So cool things that we figured out. First of all, Telerik UI for Blazor has both globalization and localization and right to left support built in, to which we didn't get into. I'm not going to get into. It's just too much. All built in, and you can add the files to your project. I did that, I believe, on the last show, but here's where the files end up. This is a Blazor full stack application. It's running with WebAssembly. So in my in my project list, you'll see I have the client side application. So like your typical JavaScript application be formatted. Where is the button I'm looking for? That one. This is my web facing client facing web application. This is the server. This is my web API and all of that good stuff. This is shared logic. This is something I didn't really address yet. This is all shared logic that I can use client side or server side. So what's really interesting here is if I have localization needs on my server, say through something that's built in Razor pages, or maybe my web API is outputting something that needs to be localized, I can call on my same localization resources from my server app. So in my web API, if I needed to localize some things in the response I'm giving out from my web API, no UI involved, I can do that through those same localizers that I'm using on the front end, with the localization service that you saw. So that is very handy. It's in the shared folder. This is something we can't do with like React or Angular, not with one RESX file. We could possibly build a JSON-based localizer, but I don't believe there's one available for .NET, unless there's one like on NuGet or something that will pull in a JSON resource. Maybe an option, I'm not sure. Not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying it's not the default behavior. The default behavior is these resource files. And I can use these resource files in the client. I can use them in the server. I could share them with another app that has some of the same verbiage in it. So if I had, say, a desktop companion app that's using XAML, I could use some of the same resource files from a shared this thing. I can share it with any .NET app. It has no context of client or server in it, or Xamarin or Unity or whatever. So I can use these translation messages anywhere I want. So that's pretty handy. So that just went in with my my other services and models and reusable bits. So that's pretty cool. I like that part of it. So from my client side, I'm calling the localizer through my program CS here. You can see I am resolving a Telerik string localizer here. And then I also have add localization, because this will allow me to add any other localization files like my global file that I have. So the add localization actually resolves the global resource. The iTelleric string localizer gets the Telleric messages from the resources. So those two things combined give me everything I have in the app. So those are where those resources get resolved. And then in my pages and views, my components, I just inject. I'm using the Telleric iString localizer. If you wanted to use iString localizer, you could use that as well. I just found it to be a little verbose. So I'm using the Telleric version with a little custom code in it. And then I use the @L. So you can call this L anything you want. Since you're typing it quite a bit, I just used the shorthand L, which I don't normally do for variable names. But in this case, it seemed appropriate since I was using it so much, and it becomes pretty understood at that point. So @L will give me a localization of any of these string values that I want to put in. And that's about it. That gives me the actual localization parts. The component that handles the switching of it is pretty simple in itself. This came off the docs website at docs.microsoft.com. I found this culture chooser. You can find it in the Telleric docs as well. But it's just a drop-down list of these values of culture data. And then when you change those values, it kicks off a tiny little JavaScript interop that all it does is stashes a value in local storage and then retrieves it. This code, again, is in docs.microsoft.com if you're looking at the localization documentation. Pretty cool stuff. I like it. So I'm going to finish localizing the values. There's no more real problems to solve, I don't believe. I think all the problems are solved. The rest of it is busy work in just adding multiple localization values and then translating the values. So I won't do all that on the air and bore everybody to death. I'll do that in some spare time. And then I will push this up to GitHub. You can find the project at GitHub. You do not have to have a Telleric license to run the application. You can get a 30-day free trial of the Telleric UIs if you want to just check out the code. I mean, if you don't want to run the code, you don't even need that. You can look at the code online. It's open source. But if you do get a free trial for Telleric UI for Blazor, if you want to check out like all the Telleric UI bits that are in there as well and run the application, all you have to do is add the .trial suffix to all the namespaces that are in like the package references and the script tags. I've tried to document those here so you can find them pretty easy. Your version may vary depending on when you try this out. So if you want to try it, you don't have to enter like any kind of like credit card information, none of that stuff. You just go to telleric.com, hit try now, you'll get 30-day free trial. It's about that easy. And the code is up here on GitHub. So I just popped that into chat if you want to check it out. Today's bits are not up there yet. Like I said, I'll get the busy work done and then I'll push those changes up. I am on the branch feature globalization. So you'll notice it's a couple days old. What I did today is not up there yet. For the most part, it's getting pretty close to where I'm at as you see it live. So let's go see who we can raid. We've been hanging out for about 2.5 hours now. We had some of Steve Smith's people come in and raid us. So appreciate everybody that came in from Steve's channel. Shout out to Steve, or R. Dallas, as you may know him. Let's see. I've got my usuals on here. Let me take any suggestions for raids. I know I've kind of jumped the gun pretty quick in the past and missed some of the great suggestions for raids that come up like right after I hit the go button. So if you have one, the next 5 seconds here is your time to cue me in on or clue me in on who's out there streaming. See if I can spot anybody else. Oh, we've got the Unreal Engine folks doing their thing too. That one's pretty good. All right. Freestyle, of course. Am I not following Freestyle Coder? So this is my good friend Chris, and how am I not following Chris?
My whole life, I've dreamed of becoming.
Okay, we're gonna raid Chris. Let me hit follow on him. Maybe that'll get him in my U. How am I not following Chris? There we go. All right, Freestyle Coder is locked and loaded for a raid. So we're gonna start. Thank you so much, Palin. That was a great suggestion. I don't know how I haven't had him on my list already. Do we have a raid message? Just tell him that Ed said hi. He'll know who you are talking about. Me and Chris go way back. Way back. So, oh, okay. Hey, Lewis. Nice to see you. Man, I really miss the .NET Meetup group. Like, that is something that I wish I could get back to. This whole COVID thing just really sucks. So, hopefully we can get back out to our regular meetup schedule when, I don't know, vaccine, who knows, right? So I gotta make sure I've got Chad's channel on here as well. I have to make sure I'm following him. I don't watch as much as I stream, unfortunately. So let's go say hi to Chris. We're locked and loaded. Take care, everybody.
Ed, Luis, good to see you too. You came at an exciting time.